Hello everyone, and welcome back to yet another video and yet another time to put your headphones on, get that energy drink ready, and check that Wi-Fi, because today's video, we will be going through, or should I say nerd, over why OP characters are bad in low ELO. Everyone loves good champions. I do, you do, and gamer dogs do, but as much as we love them, one should know when not to use them, and hence this video. Today we will take a look at why this is so. One of the most repeated concerns we always get at skill cap is how the strategies we use and share usually do not ever work in low ELO. Of course, it's good to do in high ELO, but my terrible teammates will never follow the path of my teachings, so I shouldn't even try. The strategy we implement at these times is split pushing. This has got to be split pushing. There are tons of concerns we see as, and when we bring up split pushing. But what if my team does that? Doesn't do that? What if that and this, and now if these were the dots that came up when I mentioned split pushing, then that's what video would cover. And we will cover how to split push, but we will tell you why OP characters are bad in low ELO with an example of split pushing, and moreover, why you should be doing so more often, even if you think it's wrong in low ELO. Worrying about what your teammates may or may not do roots from the mindset where you view each game with serious gameplay, where instead you should be learning what is going wrong about each specific game's result, unless you are mega smurfing. It does very little to stress about the outcome of each and every game. League is a 5v5 match, and even though your actions do matter, you don't have complete control over the outcome of the game. Honestly, if you queue up for a game after school/college, or at the end of a tiring day at work, you might just end up with the best 4 teams you'll ever meet, but oh god, if you queue up even a minute late, who knows, you might get a group of players who quarrel the entire game, eventually leading to a foreseen loss. The point is, if the game's result can usually be predicted by external factors that are out of your control, then why don't you use your time for playing to learn more efficiently? If you really want to improve, then at the end of the game, you should not be worried about winning the particular game you're playing right now, but to improve for the next hundreds and thousands of games you are about to play before you eventually quit when you're 100 years old. Now, if you agree with that, or already thought that way, then how does this all tie back into split pushing? Well, that's easy, because splitting or just being on your own in the game is quite likely the fastest way of improving when isolated. You're in complete control of everything that happens around you at all times. For example, maybe as an ADC you have a great game, but you can actually duel most enemy champions that come close to you. But as you split by yourself, the fed enemy Aurelia comes to ruin your fun as an ADC in a team fight versus a strong Aurelia. It's hard to do. Not just get angry on the person who fed her, there's almost nothing you can do when she just runs in a straight line towards you during a Baron fight in split push scenario, though control over everything that happens around you is your responsibility. Take another example of Irelia, where she only killed since she wasn't tracking her on the top map appropriately. That's a pretty easy lesson to learn. Now, how Miss Fortune knows that she needs to be way more vigilant about where Aurelia is and avoid her as much as possible. Not only do you learn macro faster when you know every consequence is your fault, but you improve your mechanics swiftly through split pushing instead of team fighting. Sit back and think about it. There's so much chaos on your screen when you're a team fighting, and you have to track the abilities, skills, and ults of 9 other champions and work out their combos. What are you, a calculator? No! When near your vicinity, not only is it non-repetitive, but it's also overwhelming. Every game team fights change so much from each other that you'll not often find yourself in the same fights from previous games. That's a problem, since the best way to learn a skill in real life or to learn a skill in any game is the same through practice. It's difficult to do that if team fights are always so chaotic and random. Meanwhile, while you're on your own or in small skirmishes, it's much easier to digest what you were observing and improve your gameplay for the better. The situations you find yourself in are most likely to repeat in the future, and let's take a look at an example. Assume a fairly fed Orianna getting into a series of 1v1s and 1v2s, while Yumi just goes on a ride. On her first stop is the enemy Ezreal. Orianna can already take away a big lesson from her gameplay. Looking back throughout the fight, it's clear that there are past experiences that Orianna is drawing from when she's fighting her opponents. That being said, she also can walk away from this entire skirmish knowing that her mouse control definitely needs a bit of work, especially during those key moments when she's under pressure. Compare that to a team fight, where everything is so random and chaotic that it's hard to get a clear lesson each fight on what you need to improve, what you need to change on. It's generally hard to learn a particular concept. Usually you'll just have vague ideas like, I need to position better, or something along the lines, and that's only if you can resist the urge to roast the rest of your team for failing you so miserably. And let's just make something very clear before going further. Yes, adapting this mindset and going off on your own or splitting pushing most games will lose you a lot of matches until and unless you're doing it properly and outplaying your enemies, you won't have the pressure you need to win, and more often than not, your teammates will collapse on the other side of the map. That being said, losing while learning more efficiently is much better for the long-term progress. Think about it this way. Say you play things safe every game, you group up with your teammates all the time, you're always there for team fights, and there to back them up in case they try to get themselves into trouble. Playing safe gets you a 51 to 54 win rate. Let's say that's a 52 for you. If your MMR is stable with a plus 14 LP for wins and minus 14 losses for after 100 games, you will have climbed to 50 LP total. That is 100 hours worth of queue time, champion selects, dodges, remakes, etc. 100 hours for 50 LP. That's steadily climbing for sure, but compare that to a player who's regularly putting themselves in tough spots and learning more, and they will skyrocket an LP. The last thing I want to tell you is that it's easy for me to just say, just don't care about losing. Easier said than done. For most people, thus my final bit of advice is to actually get a Smurf to queue up on. Regardless of what stage of the game you're playing, it's easier to make decisions that you know might lose you the game if you're on a Smurf where your IP doesn't matter as much, right? But more importantly, Smurfing helps with something else. Confidence. The most important thing about being on your own is having the ability to outplay the one or two people who are trying to defend you. If you're not confident that you can beat them, then you'll never be good at split pushing since you just run away from every encounter, especially if you're playing something that doesn't defend for itself very well, such as an ADC or a control mage. But smurfing against players below your true ELO can help you gain the confidence you need to realize when you actually can take those fights on your own. Then as you slowly but definitely climb to your mains, ELO, you'll keep your confidence and calm, even against equally skilled players, and you'll take fights you normally wouldn't have. Otherwise, many people often disregard smurfing as just an ego thing to stomp lower skilled players, but it can definitely be used to your advantage when learning new skill and gameplay. With this said, I think we have covered enough as to the reason why using OP characters is a bad idea overall in low elo. Remember the tips taught in this video and try and improve upon these reasons mentioned. Until then, keep grinding, keep practicing, because when you are OP, anything else does not matter at all. See you around, legend.